Coming to you live from the Business RadioX studio in Woodstock, Georgia. This is Fearless Formula with Sharon Klein.
And welcome to Fearless Formula on this Fearless Formula Friday. And I'm so excited. I'm looking at Stone. I have Stone Payton here in the studio. He is the managing partner of Business RadioX. And I wanted to have him come in because really the reason I'm here is because of you, Stone.
Well, that's awfully gracious, but we are so delighted to have you in the Business RadioX family. You're producing such marvelous work. The people you're meeting, the stories you're capturing, I think it's fascinating. I love listening to your show.
Oh, that's so sweet. Okay, we're done with the show today. That's all I wanted to hear.
And we're out.
No, but I'm excited to talk to you because there's some really exciting things that we're doing here in Woodstock with Business RadioX. But I don't know that we've actually really had a moment in this kind of forum to really talk about it. So I was wondering if you would kind of share some of the fun things that we're doing.
Well, it's been a fun couple of years. Holly and I have been here almost 2 years. I think April will be 2 years. And so we've had this studio here, and this is one of 19 studios, physical studios like this that we have. And we're in 57 markets total. But I mean, this is the best studio, right? Out of all of them.
Of course.
No, we have so many marvelous shows, and we're serving so many different what would you call them? Like little ecosystems, different specific niches. And maybe some shows wouldn't hold a lot of interest for one person, but it means everything in the world to another, right? And so that's a lot of fun. But you and I and our other host, we get a chance to meet a lot of different people from a lot of different walks of life, and it is so much fun. And so the core mission and purpose, that really hasn't changed. You know, our tagline is amplifying the voice of business, and the business model for us is helping professional services, B2B folks build real relationships real fast. This thing works. It always works. It never doesn't work, so we keep doing that. And so we have these clients, and we help them build these custom shows, and we show them how to use the platform to serve first, serve early, serve often. And as a result of that, either strengthen those existing relationships, can't think of a better way to cultivate a new relationship than to have them come on the show and share their story and promote their work. So that continues. The only shift in that, I guess, is we're doing a lot more of it than we were 2 years ago or a year ago or even 6 months ago. And then largely due to you.
No.
And yes. Largely due to you, your specific input, and David Samahal, Diesel David Inc., finally cracked the code on how to serve people that are not our traditional client, and they don't have custom shows every week.
That's right.
Where we do all that. They're smaller companies, solopreneurs, startups, retail. And they're just kind of getting their thing off the ground. And our traditional fee structure is a little out of reach for them. And but now we've got this thing, we call it Main Street Warriors.
That's right.
And our creed is defending capitalism, promoting small business, and supporting our local community. And I don't care where you are in your entrepreneurial journey, whether you've got an idea on a cocktail napkin or you're staying up at night figuring out how to scale, without exception, everyone I meet that is trying to get something going, they all genuinely want to contribute to not only the business community, but the community at large. But by the same token, our fee structure for our traditional clients, it just doesn't make sense. And I couldn't, in good conscience say, here, invest $1,250 a month to sometimes as much as $5,000 a month. And here's the return of investment you're going to get. I mean, look, there was a time for me too. Believe me, I don't care how good it works. I wouldn't have had that kind of money to make the investment. So we created this Main Street Warriors. We established that creed with your help and David's. And then what makes it so cool is we created a membership structure where these folks can pool their resources. And instead of paying $1,250 a month, they pay $1,250 a year. Or I think we give them a break. It's $1,250 a year if you do it annual, $125 a month. So whatever that comes out to. Right. But for that, and anyone who is serious about growing a business, if you don't have $125 a month to invest in something like this, once you believe in it, I'm not saying you ought to automatically believe in it, but once you feel like it's a good idea, then maybe you ought to revisit if this is really what you want to do. That's well within reason, even for the smallest of companies. Sure. But that way they can pool their resources, and we can let them tap into a lot of the same benefits. Again, not a weekly custom show, but they can sponsor episodes. They can sponsor series. They can sponsor us when we go out to ribbon cuttings and on-site broadcast, especially here locally, right? And they can, one of the greatest benefits for anyone in our system, going back to our core of building relationships, is just being able to, it's nice to get out in the marketplace and do something nice for them by simply just reaching out and inviting them to come in the studio and share their story and promote their work, or in some cases, even hop on a Zoom call and share their story and promote their work. You talk about a great foundation I mean, you're giving them such a gift, right? And so for initiating that brand new relationship, at least for me, it's so much easier than trying to get someone to have a cup of coffee and then you explain what you do and I explain what I do. To me, it allows you to give that gift, to serve first, right? To serve early, to serve often. And so that is something we can provide our Main Street Warriors. So they get the booking calendar link, of course, but also they get a priority booking code. Awesome. So they can reach out and invite someone to come on a show that they sponsor, because they are sponsoring that show. Those people come in, we give them plenty of love like we always do in the studio. If depending on the mix of the audience, the mix of the guest in the studio, we will likely do a live read for that Main Street Warrior. Like today's episode is brought to you in part by XYZ Company. Go check them out. That has value. And then when we publish the episode, we can say today's episode is brought to you by. We let them at that level. There is another level called Special Forces. With you and David, the creativity never ends. But that core membership, that basic membership of the Main Street Warriors, for that $12.50 a year, $100 a month, every quarter they can actually organize a dedicated episode.
Oh, that's
right?
Awesome.
And so they can reach out, and this can be totally dedicated to, and so every guest is their guest. It's not like they're just fast-tracking someone to come in. Mm-hmm. So between all of that, they're getting to tap into some of the benefits, and candidly, some of them, this hasn't happened yet, because we only formally launched this, what was it, like the first or second week of December?
It was in the late fall, yeah.
Okay, so it hasn't happened yet, but what I really do think is going to happen, some of these folks will grow into traditional clients for us. So, I mean, yeah, we're nice people and all that, but it's good business for us too, and it allows us to fully live into that mission of serving the community, the business community and the community at large. So I'm really fired up about that. And so I mentioned very briefly, there's a kind of a top tier level called Special Forces, where it's really only a half step from being a traditional client. On the other end of the continuum, there is something called Supporting Troops, $12.50 a month. They can still tap into some of what I'm describing, just not at the same frequency. And I mean, I don't know anybody that, that can't afford, right?
That's coffee or something.
But think about the number of people that that are in that position. They're trying to get something off the ground. Their heart is there. They want to support the business community, but they don't have a practical mechanism to do it. When there's a fundraiser, they don't want to give $12.50, right? Right. But a lot of $12.50 is, we pool that. We can put together a fundraiser basket for the Main Street Warriors, like we did last night over at Diesel David's Mingle, his grand opening at his new spot, and we can help Paige Reed over here at Limitless Disabilities buy a bus, get a new soundproof wall. When you pool those resources. So first of all, thank you. Thank you, Diesel David. Also, as probably many of you know by now if you've been listening, because you'll hear us mention Diesel David a great deal. Not only did Diesel David help us with all that, think it through, not only did Diesel David want to be a Main Street Warrior, he said, I want to be the title sponsor. So he's actually the title sponsor for the Cherokee chapter of Main Street Warriors, and that's the other cool news. When the other studio partners got wind of what we're doing,
oh boy,
now they want to do it.
Yeah.
And so now Business RadioX Corporate, which that's one of the hats I wear, we're licensing that whole structure to them as well. So right now, the participating studios are all of the studios that I have a hand in: Pensacola, Tallahassee, Chattanooga, and then of course here in Woodstock. Am I leaving one out? All these that I have some financial interest or some direct operating role in, but don't be surprised. And that's why I say Cherokee chapter.
That's right.
Right? Because you're going to have Chattanooga chapter. You're going to, that kind of thing.
Well,
so
it must be very satisfying to see it take off so well.
It is. It's fun, and I can't take any real credit for it. You can. You did come up with this concept, and we talked about it. So I did think, wow, this is really thinking outside the box, because you are including people who are a smaller business like me. Well, I really wanted to do that because and what happened was I came to town. I've never been a networky guy. I've never been that involved in my local community. It was always, like a more distanced, arm's length relationship. I mean, we served our clients well, even in the training consulting business and even in my role at Business RadioX. But I got here and I met all these wonderful people, and I'm just scratching my head. It took me a year and a half, but I'm like, there's got to be a way we can help these people, and there's probably a way that because it always does, Sharon. It always comes back and serves you too. So I will take some credit for wanting to figure it out. And I do think it was I do think this framing of Main Street Warriors has some legs.
It does.
Right? But then it was so unrefined when I brought it to you and David. Mm-hmm. And David doesn't say, well, noodle on it, think about it, let's get a strategy meeting. He is he's like, let's do it. I want to be title sponsor. Here's what you need to do. You need a membership. You need these levels, blah, blah, blah.
He's so smart. My brain does not keep up as fast as he comes up with solutions and the reasons why within 5 seconds. And I'm trying to write as opposed to type down what he's saying, but it's so fast. But he did have incredible advice for us.
He did, and he's not only smart, but he's such a person of action, and he's so gifted at compelling others to take action. Because I've run into a lot of smart people that will just plan to death and never throw their hat over the fence. If you want to hang out with David, it is such a rich experience. But you better be prepared to take some action.
Yeah, he's very inspiring, isn't he?
Oh, yeah.
And his studio, his shop is so beautiful.
Let's call it a studio. Let's call that David's. We were at David's studio yesterday. Oh, but isn't it cool?
It is beautiful, and it's exciting to see. And I was actually kind of emotional when he had his ribbon cutting, because I'm like, how many moments do people dream of having this? Like, I'm going to have a ribbon cutting ceremony, and have all of these people come and support and be in my life like this. And so it just felt I was so proud and happy for him. What a dream come true. And it's not often I get to witness that happening in real life. So.
And it's fun to see that happening with David. You cannot think of a more deserving person for the momentum and success he's experiencing and will continue to experience. And it's happening every day here in town. I mean, look at Ashley Greer. Over here, is it the cutting board? I'm wearing your T-shirt.
The cutting board charcuterie.
The board and box. The board and box. Forgive me, Ashley. I'll get it. She was kind enough to give me a shirt, but I couldn't read it fast enough before I started talking. She's getting some momentum. She's got a space over there. We're going to be at her ribbon cutting. And, of course, my new news. We got a golf cart.
That's right. The Business RadioX golf cart.
So I'm planning to drive the golf cart there and park it. I should have my Business RadioX decal by then. But no, it's happening every day. You have all of these great, these marvelous. And what's nice is people have found in this community, and I think it's the real secret to getting a successful business off the ground. It's not just something they thought they wanted to do. They found a need, a desire, and they filled that need, and then they did it in concert with their values and what makes them happy, and the marriage of those two things is beautiful.
It is, and it's exciting to see how many different businesses intermingle in this community. I think last night the Board and Box was part of Diesel David's event last night, and it was amazing.
Oh man, did you see that layout?
I did, and there were pictures of it online.
She was
beautiful. And
then you had Lauren and Cody Bolden were there, and they brought these bags of pies.
That's right.
And and by the way, my wife is like a super fan of Cody Bolden.
Oh,
and so when we got the golf cart, and it's got a nice radio in it with a good sound system. And so we have one CD in the golf cart, And it's Cody Bolden, and her favorite song on that CD, she loves all of them. She could tell you, she could sing every word, is Well-Worn Bar. So we took a little video of her singing Well-Worn Bar, and we posted it on Facebook this morning. And but it's fun to know people like that and be able to and let them, people like Cody and Lauren and Ashley and David, know how much they're enriching our lives, right? And so anyway, so just being a part of the community really did it. I'll take credit for that. It motivated me to try to figure out a way to help them. So that's going well. We've got to keep our foot on the gas and make sure that we're serving that community well, and we'll continue to try to find ways to serve them. And we'll take a page out of David's book, and I know you practice this as well. If you want to find out how to help them, ask them. What do you guys want? What would is something we can be doing? And so we're going to try to be good at creating that feedback loop and return that learning to the organization. So got that. My new shiny ball, though, I got to tell you.
What's your new shiny ball?
Many of our listeners will know, anyone who's had a conversation with me and considered the idea of becoming a client, where we do that, where we create that customized show and create a show concept that allows them to shine the light on other people and genuinely serve the people in their ecosystem that they want to build those relationships with. Many of them know our minimum performance standard at Business RadioX has always been, for 2 decades now, is we're a money machine. So our minimum performance standard is to double your money. Now, our studio network is very autonomous. Like Karen Nowicki out in Phoenix, we don't tell her what to do. We share best practices. There are very few rules. She taps into our brand equity. Everybody wins. But we don't dictate like you would in a formal franchise, a lot of the activities. And so for that reason, I don't make this commitment for the other studio partners. But at Cherokee Business Radio, that is a guarantee. We're going to double your money. If you're a traditional client, you come in, you put $1 in our money machine, you're going to get that $1 and another one back. And what our target is really 5X, a 400% ROI. So if you put that $1 in, you're going to get that $1 and then 4 more back. That's what we're targeting. But because our minimum performance standard is doubling your money, I made an appeal at Woodstock Business Club, and I'll make an appeal here on the air. I'm in search of twins because I want to do a promotional campaign built around twins.
Oh, my goodness, that's genius.
So I'll take your help, David's help. I've already mentioned to John Clunan, my marketing buddy, and we sponsor his motorcycle racing pursuits, to help me think through, writing the copy and how to. But I just think it would be fun if we could figure out a way to. And I want twins of all sizes and shapes and ages and genders, and so
that is so smart.
So if you know twins out there, and we're not going to go, to like a formal booking agency and book the most beautiful European twins or whatever for $1 gazillion.
You want real people?
I want real people, and but we're going to do the twins thing. So, or at least that, you know what? So this idea is every bit as refined at this point while we're on air today as the Main Street Warrior idea was when I came to you and David.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It seems like a cool idea.
It's a great idea. And you know what? I like, too, that you will find some people in Woodstock that are twins. So it still continues to be part of the community, which is cool.
we most certainly will. And equally exciting is because we have built those relationships around town at Young Professionals of Woodstock Business Club, all just Reformation Under the Elm Tree. I got lots of networking spots. Jekyll, Stout. All these places, because they want to help, you never know who knows who. And so while they may not be a twin, they've got a cousin that knows somebody, or they know somebody that's got a set of twins. And so I really believe that making this appeal, in this community, if you'll let folks around you know what you need and want, man, they will bend over backwards to try to help you get. So I bet you I probably get flooded with twins, and I hope I do. And anyone who wants to participate in any of that, we'll make it happen. But that's my new shiny ball that I'm chasing.
I did not know that. I feel like I got like a little insider information today. That's cool. It's very creative, but that's what's so cool about you is how creative you are. Like thinking outside of the box of what traditionally Business RadioX has done. So that's what's cool about Main Street Warriors too, is I was like, what are you doing? Like you had to explain it to me. I'm like, this is genius. So, and what I really love too is like you are still promoting that notion of let's highlight and give people a space to explain who they are, why they do what they do, what's important to them. And that's what I love about my show is because we really do focus on who the person is behind the name. So it's not just Diesel David. It's like if you are around David for a few minutes, you're like, oh my gosh, I believe in everything that you're doing.
Oh, he's infectious.
Yeah.
Oh. And
but
so
you
are
would
so
know
many
that,
other. Yes. You know? Right. So tell me, I'm going to flip. I'm getting in a host check. No, I want to know, what are some of the things that you've enjoyed the most, and has anything surprised you or really stood out for you?
I would say the biggest surprise since doing the show, and it'll be a year in July. So
oh, wow.
I know.
Good.
It's
Time
been
goes
really
by
great.
fast.
It does. It's the most fun I have during the week is this show. But also I think when I'm interviewing someone that I've never met before, complete stranger, you know, we talk a little before the show, and then when we do our interview, there is just an energy about it that I know that I am looking at someone's heart. And I just need you to have the words to show me your heart or explain your heart. And once we do that, I swear we are friends. We are all friends.
Like fast, right?
And I mean, I really believe that I could contact anyone who's been on the show and say, I'm having trouble, and like someone would come and help me. I really do, because there is it's like an energy exchange of let me highlight who you are, and then they tell their story. Who doesn't love to explain their story and why they do what they do? Everybody wins. It's like such a joy. So I think that joy really is something that you can feel. And I love that I could go to any of these little businesses and feel like I'm speaking to a friend who I've didn't know last week. It's crazy.
Isn't that great?
It's really a very interesting kind of dynamic.
Well, and I do believe with all of my heart, if next week you decided to quit doing this, you stopped doing the voiceover work, and you sold office furniture, right? You're in a whole new career, right?
Totally see it, yes.
All right. I believe you could reach out to every one of those people you're describing. A, I think they would take your call. B, I think that they would entertain a conversation with an open mind about the products and services that you're offering. I really believe if they were at all in the market for some office furniture, or might be in the near future, I think anything else being close to equal, I think you would get the nod. I think you would get the business over the other person. I really believe if their brother-in-law was in the office furniture business, right? And let's say it's a guy, and his brother-in-law is in the office furniture business, and his wife is like, no, you have to buy it from my brother Rusty, and so he's going to buy the office furniture from the brother-in-law. He has to, for the sake of his own peace of mind and his life. I still believe even then that person is still going to try to do everything in their power to help you. They're going to let other people know you're in the business. They're going to try to introduce you to other people. Don't you think that? And I think that's why the ROI comes from this.
It's true, and I think part of it is the intention is for good, like truly good.
Yeah.
And I do think that if there were any ulterior motives, by now it would have all fallen apart and would not work at all. But knowing that my intention truly is to highlight someone's like heart and what they do and what they think about, what they've learned, especially talking about fear and how that can limit your life so much. And everyone knows what that feeling is like. How do you manage around that? Because I think about it all the time. So it's really wonderful for someone to say, here's what I've learned. So I get to love on someone gets to share their story, and then anyone else who listens could maybe get an inspiration or a lesson that they never really even thought that they would get on a radio. And I do think it works. Like it just works. It's really been very special to me. It's like such a joy.
Oh, I'm delighted to hear. Okay, so the show is called Fearless Formula. Mm-hmm. What did fear ever come into play at all when you started doing this?
Yes.
Okay.
You still let me walk in the building, shaking and everything. Yeah, I would say yes, because I don't really have a specific plan in talking to someone. I have a very curious mind, and it's annoying sometimes. So I really appreciate that people let me ask questions, because the reason I'm asking is not so that I can find something to get out of you, but it's really just to understand, how do you move through the world? What is your world experience like? with a business slant. And so I'm not the biggest business person, but I do love that there are more things about us that are alike than are different, no matter what industry, no matter what aspect of your life you're talking about, whether it's homeownership or driving to work can be scary. Like everyone knows that feeling of fear. So just being able to say, well, what did you do during the pandemic? That's like one of the big things I ask, because a lot of businesses didn't survive and some did. And how did you do it? And what would you do differently if you could start over? I mean, these are lessons that I think about all the time for anybody. And it's so nice to know that I pass by people every day, but coming down into Woodstock and seeing someone's face that I recognize from an interview that I did, they're not a stranger to me. They're a human, who's had their own life experience. You can appreciate where they've come from. And just having that appreciation of who someone is and why they do what they do makes me want to solicit their business, makes me want to say, yeah, I really could use some help with my air conditioning, or to whoever plumber, has been here. So I really appreciate the relationship. And it's so important to talk about it from a people aspect, not just business and money and numbers, but people are behind it. And I just love highlighting that. That's how my brain works.
So how did you get past the initial fear? Did you just tough it out? Did you block it out? Or
good question. Oh man, I think I just felt it but did it anyway, and that's pretty much how I live my life. You feel the fear and do it anyway, because really once you are sitting with someone, we're just having a conversation. It is not a major dissertation about how you got from point A to point B and explain it all and Excel spreadsheet, nothing. It's just tell me who you are, explain to me who you are. And I think just coming at it from an energy of I really just want to understand who you are and what makes you tick. When you have that energy, it's really almost like we could be sitting anywhere having a beer together. And
we probably should have done that. We probably should have taken the remote kit, headed over to Reformation or to Stout or Jekyll and just sat down.
Exactly, but it feels the same.
It does. I think it feels that way. And Lee and I, when we were getting this thing off the ground and trying to replicate it, because we started with just the one studio down in Sandy Springs, the tone that we wanted to create, and I think we've pulled it off in most cases, is like you're sitting there you're sitting at Jekyll and you're having that conversation over a beer, and the table next to you just can't help but lean over and listen in a little bit. Don't you think we create that tone?
I really do. And I think it's true, because the things that we're talking about aren't necessarily, all the ROIs that you have to deal with and all of the ins and outs and like the boring kind of not really fun parts of business. But
it's fun when the check clears.
That's the whole point of it all, I guess. But still talking about kind of what it is that sort of drives you. I mean, when they're doing the charitable pursuits show, and I've been lucky enough to sit on those because I've produced a couple, just watching, not participating so much, but just watching the different slant of that show compared to mine, which is all like, tell me about how you manage your feelings. Charitable Pursuits talks about why do you give? What is it that drives you? How can other people be inspired to give? And that is so inspiring. If you and I were sitting at a place like Jekyll and having a beer and we're talking about that specific subject, somebody will overhear it and be able to identify with it.
Right.
So you're right. It's not just, business. It's more like, how can I contribute to my community? How can I build relationships? How can I help someone else? Because we're all helping each other. And I think that's why we're here, is to help each other, I guess.
Amen. Well said.
Okay. It's funny. I didn't know what we were going to talk about today. That's the best part about this show.
I didn't really. I knew I wanted to say a couple of things about Main Street Warriors and mention, but you see me, I don't have a notepad or anything.
Me neither, except my phone, because I get nervous and I'm like, how do I introduce Stone, who I've known for like a year and a half now? But still, I think you're right that it is really, it's not something to feel like you're out of your comfort zone. If you've ever had a conversation with someone anywhere, it is exactly the same energy right in here. And people do get nervous before they come on if they've never done a show before or spoken.
But don't you find that more often than not the microphone kind of melts away pretty quickly?
It does,
right?
Because you really do. It is an energy of just tell me your story, and you don't even think about. I don't even think about what I'm saying, which probably shows sometimes. But I'm just saying, when someone comes in here who's never had that experience before, it isn't something that they they always leave happy, is what I'm trying to say. They're not concerned. Oh, did that sound good? Did that not sound good? It's your story. We're just highlighting who you are and what you love and what you wish you did different, or what you learned, or how you give back, or your thoughts. You know, who doesn't want a moment to kind of say, this is what I was thinking about? Like you today, you just shared your thoughts. Like,
that's just what's on my mind right now. That and the golf cart, because I gambled and came down on the golf cart, and there's this little stretch between where you're allowed to drive the golf cart and where the office is, and it's like 75 yards, and there's a sidewalk, and I gambled today, and I don't know. We need to get the chief of police in here, build a relationship, and say, look, can you cut us some slack on this one little stretch? But
if you ever see this Business RadioX call, it's the only one.
It's the only one. I don't want to be unsafe, but I feel like if I can come up, I don't know. I probably shouldn't do all that on the air. But anyway, I'm just talking about what's on my mind. I have a technical question for you, and there's no right answer, but it occurs to me, when you put the headphones on,
yes.
Don't you feel like there's like we're in a little bit of a bubble?
Yeah.
Like I wonder if that doesn't even lend itself further to
it's a good question
really
about that.
It's almost like we're in our own little world, right? I don't know if that's true or not, but it feels that way to me.
It does. I think it lends well for defenses being kind kind of disarmed.
Yeah.
You know, kind of it's
in the outside
disarming.
world, they're out there, right?
They are. Sometimes you hear the rain and you're like, what? Is it raining? I'm in this little booth. It's so nice because it really does feel like you don't have, you're not distracted. You don't have 1,000 different things that you need to be doing, checking your phone or anything like that. We get to focus on each other, and that's the whole reason to be in here. And I don't do that very often in other areas. So if I went to go see anyone, like I had Bananas and Beehives on a couple weeks ago, if I went to go speak to her in her shop, well, she'll be busy, you know, and it's very difficult, which I get, of course. Sure. But it's so nice to have a dedicated time to really get to know someone in a very intimate way that, is so positive in the end. And I remember you told me this in the beginning. No one has ever left unhappy. And it's the truth. We sit here after the show, 30 minutes, 40 minutes. We still talk. And I'll be like, oh, man, I should have asked you that, on the show. But it's still just fun because I'm still truly invested in who someone is and what they do and what makes them tick. And it's hard sometimes to think of all the great questions. I mean, I'm always off the cuff.
But and then you can always have them back, right?
Exactly.
So that's fun. And did you see my studio upgrade?
Yes, I did.
So we've had these really cool core board signs, logos for people, underwriters of shows. But with the Main Street Warriors program, the ones that do the special forces or the annual, we've created these foam core things. Yeah. But the way we did it, they were like semi-permanent, right? Like if you could put them on, if you took them off, you better be careful.
Yeah.
So I finally figured out how to do it with magnets so we can move them around. So like if somebody was specifically sponsoring today's episode, we can move it where I've got the Main Street Warriors thing. We can put their deal. Isn't that cool?
It's
we can move
smart.
the logos around.
Yeah, and it's a great opportunity for different businesses.
See, that wasn't
to get a
David's
moment.
idea. I thought that. That's on me. David doesn't win everything.
I can't. Sorry, I wasn't expecting you to say that. Good for you, Stone.
That's right.
Good for you. That was genius,
I have
too.
value.
Twice you've been called a genius today. No, that's awesome. But I love that, too, because it does give people a little bit extra highlight. Which, who doesn't love that? So I just think the premise and the execution of it is just so beautiful, and it is not too complicated for me to figure out how to do on my own as a producer and doing the show. So I know someone else could come in here and learn it too, if they wanted to. It's nothing that it takes a genius.
And our clients don't even have to run the board. But you're right. True. I mean, I'm not a radio guy. I'm a sales and marketing guy, right?
But you do the board.
I do, but it's like the play school version of a board. It's high end. In the old days when we got started, it looked like a rock band. The machine you had to have there, and you had to have 2 or 3 different boxes that you plugged the headphones into and all that jazz. And now because podcasting in general has become so prolific. There's this whole cottage industry around the equipment and the software, and and that with 20 years of workflow knowledge, it's gotten easier and easier and easier for us.
Do you ever want to add cameras in here?
Yes. There is a trade-off with using video in this environment versus just audio, and so every situation is different because, again, if you go back to the core purpose for most of our clients, the priority is building the relationship.
That's right.
And if you don't if you do video, and particularly if you don't handle the video aspect of it well, it can actually add friction to the whole dynamic, right? We've seen this in the conference and trade show work that we've done. I've seen it in studio. Right now, you and I are ultra relaxed. Even a brand new client who's never been on the mic, by this time in the conversation, they're
so happy.
They're so relaxed.
Yeah.
But I got to tell you, for so many people, and a lot of the people we're interviewing they're not media trained. They're not professional actors or voiceover people or anything like that.
They're really in the trenches of their business.
Exactly. And so, man, you throw a camera in their face, and start video, they start to worry about the mustard on their shirt and their hair, and they don't feel like they can refer to their notes. Right. Oh. So it's not that one is good and one is bad, but you need to take that into account. And all that said, and so every situation is different, and our priority in serving the client is what is going to help you get to your desired outcome. If adding video is going to get you 100 more likes on social media, but it's going to add too much friction to the environment, our counsel is going to be no. Now, if your check clears, we'll video. But I'm just saying that's going to be our counsel. However, one of the things that I'm working on, and we have in the past, even I have done, where we video the sound check, and we do like the Facebook Live thing or do Restream.
Really smart.
And then we tell them, to listen to the whole show, head on over to highvelocityradio.com or CherokeeBusinessRadio.com or whatever. So that we've had great experience with, and that was cool. We're going to have video capability because there are situations where it doesn't add friction and everybody is cool with it. In fact, they even would appreciate having some video captured. And there are some distinct advantages in video as a medium and some distinct advantages in audio as a medium, which I'm happy to describe in a moment if you like. But what we are going to do is we're going to continue to explore the most inobtrusive, is that a word? Whatever is not going to get in the way to have a one or two camera angles in here where we can capture on video if that's what the client wants. And we're going to work through how to, so that the guests are very comfortable with that. And it's just kind of in the background, out of the way so that we can capture that for them. And there'll be, we'll add a premium to that fee structure because that's a whole different ball game that, cutting the video, adding the video, all that jazz.
Exactly.
But to me, it's a both and. Let's make it available. Let's make it easy. Because I have had, after everything I just said, I've had people come in here and say, well, is it okay if I video myself? Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Or they'll say, is it all right if I video this whole thing? At which point I'll often say, well, let's check with our other guests, because my priority is relationship and environment. So another thing we are working on is to have an inobtrusive way to capture video when it is warranted. I will share with you, in general, video is such a marvelous vehicle for storytelling. But for some of the reasons I just described earlier, and there's some others, this platform is infinitely more powerful for story gathering. It's much easier if you're working with people who are not professional actors. This platform is so much easier to gather stories. With this, there's not the lighting, there's not the setup, there's not that friction I was telling you about that can occur, that kind of thing.
People ask me that when they come in, is this going to be on video? And I always,
and some are very nervous about it, right?
They don't like it, some do not.
And you get the whole continuum, right? And some like, oh my gosh, is it okay if I video it, or do you have a way to video? So it is an infinitely more powerful tool for story gathering in most circumstances. And if you go back to desired outcome, if your desired outcome is to double, triple, quadruple your money, if it's to build relationships real fast, and get to the point where the people who are important to you are writing you checks or teeing you up with people who are writing you checks, if your focus is ROI and building relationships, story gathering is your path. And I'm not saying you can't incorporate video in the story gathering, but the default slam dunk, automatic, always works, never doesn't work way to gather stories. I mean, this is a content factory, right?
It is.
Gathering stories and really building that relationship, audio over video, hands down.
That's so interesting because people focus so much on using social media with these videos. Like I had a woman on here who does the Snuggly blanket company, and when she came in, videoed that she was doing this, videoed some of the logos. She said, I'm always looking for content because I have to fight to get myself out there like 3 times a day.
Oh, it's a hungry beast, those social media platforms.
It is. And I think it would be, even for myself, I need to kind of embrace that. I haven't yet. So, but it's not something that I think about is perfect for everybody or their business. But I do see that social media uses video so much. That
it really does. And you can add, the other thing, once you have audio, you can still go, you can lay video on top of it. B-roll, you can do really compelling images.
Even just do your logo.
Right. So all of those things, and again, just like the technical equipment, those tools are getting easier and easier and less and less expensive to use. So, that's our take on audio and video. So we want to do what the client wants to do, but we feel an obligation to share our counsel with them about how to go about it. Now, that being said, I mentioned earlier how prolific podcasting has become. Well, I'll give you a sobering stat. Well over 80% of podcasts fail, meaning they produce 3 or fewer episodes, and they don't get the outcomes that they thought they were going to get, so they stop. Okay, that's podcasts in general. Over 96% of business podcasts fail for those. That means they produce 3 or fewer episodes. They don't get what they thought they were going to get. And again, it's because they're doing more storytelling is a big piece of it. And the other thing is they're following the old traditional terrestrial model of trying to get the message out to a gazillion people. Hope and pray that some, and they know it's going to be a small group, and often it's not any group at all, hoping that some of them will then hear it and then actually listen to it and then download their white paper and then sign up for their newsletter and then take a call and then book the demo and then have another conversation and then accept a proposal. And so they're trying to work this funnel from the very top. And again, it can be done. It has been done, but it obviously it's done, 3.5% or less of the time. And so that model, even if you are doing all the things that I'm telling you about in counseling, if you take this extremely powerful platform and you do that, the chances, the likelihood of you being successful and getting a return on that investment and reaching your desired outcomes is, almost zero. It's 3.5 to, less than 3.5%. However, as you've observed, and it's probably true about a lot of tools, this is just the one I know. If you use this platform to serve first, serve early, serve often, genuinely invest in the other person in the room, give them a chance to share their story, promote their work, tell you what's on their heart, and aim it that way. It just always works.
It's crazy. It's true because I have gotten voiceover work and through the relationships that I've made here, and it's a natural fit too because who they get to experience in my asking questions is really me. I really don't have a whole lot else to pull from. Like I do have some notes sometimes, but really who you get to see is like who I genuinely am. And so I'm not a mystery. I'm not like, potentially a bad experience, I would hope. But I like that they already have a relationship with me. It's just set, and I think, like you were saying, they get to share their heart. You get to share who you are, and everyone really leaves happy. It's great. It works, and I love that I don't have to worry about being on an island by myself trying to make my own little podcast work. I don't know a whole lot about it, and I know you can learn, and people do, and they make it work. But for myself, the likelihood of being consistent and sticking with it and not having the support that I have here, I don't think it would do it. I don't. I'm sorry. I just,
So I got to ask, once you establish that trust and credibility and you've got that thing that just happens in here, do you ever slip into any of your characters that you do for voiceover? Because you've got all these accents, you've got these characters, you have an incredible range of talent. Once you get the comfort level going, do you slip into some of that stuff?
Sometimes I do, especially because I had a gentleman in here, Derek Jensen, who is with Precision. It's power washing. He's from Boston, and I was just like, oh no, grew up in Massachusetts a good bit. So I totally was like, let's start
that's
saying
funny.
wicked. And it was actually very fun because in speaking with him, it reminded me of my family members back home. And it felt like I was speaking to my uncle or my brother or something.
Right.
So it's kind of crazy how you can identify and find commonalities between all kinds of different people. Because like I said, we are more alike than we are different. So it's really fun to highlight that part of it.
And the platform, of course, does facilitate all that. But the what we do and why we do it also attracts like-minded people that have that same value system. I'll give you a specific example. A gentleman by the name of Chris Kriegmer, Atlanta drone cleaning. He does and he's got like this, big drone thingy that goes up and washes the buildings and the roofs and all that. Let me tell you what he organized. Now, this is a guy that is in this. I'm good. I might use the wrong term. Power washing, roof washing, building washing. He invited 3 other people in that business to come in here and talk about their business. They were all about trying to help each other, collaborating, working together on projects, referring. And what I'm getting at is clearly Chris Kriegmer is of that same ilk, right? He's cut from the same cloth. His value system is so wholly consistent with ours and what we're trying to accomplish. So when you approach something like that and not only espouse the value, but you visibly live into it, oh my goodness, you attract other people that are exactly the same way. And what a gift that is, right?
It is because they could be competitors, right? They
that's how most people in most markets, exactly how they would attack it.
Yeah, no, this is my job, my business, my market, my Woodstock,
right.
my whatever, my town. But there is room for everyone. And I just love the notion of that, which is what we talk about here on Fearless Formula too. We talk about how there is room for everyone in this business to have a space, to succeed, to live their dream. It's not like it's abundant. There's always going to be people who need a service. So I think one of the best parts about it is that energy of collaboration. And like I was speaking to, I want to say it was Bananas and Beehives who was here a couple weeks ago. She was saying that there was a time during the pandemic where they, one of the other businesses that's got a sort of similar theme as hers across the street from her ran out of supplies, and she provided the supplies.
That is
it is
fantastic.
So sweet because they are all helping each other.
Yeah.
Because we're all just trying to.
And there's plenty of opportunity. Well, and I'll tell people that anyone who's listening right now, if you think you want to get into the podcasting world, sit down with me. Let's go have a beer. Look, love to have you as a client if that would make sense and it would serve you. But if not, maybe you should be doing your own thing out of your house or in your own space or whatever. I will open up my playbook. I will share with you, because we've probably made every mistake you could possibly make over the last 18, 20 years. And we really have kind of refined the workflow. We've learned what equipment to purchase and use. We've learned how to convert this into actually making money, which, again, 96% have not. I mean, that's a very sobering statistic. But I could probably shrink the timeline and remove a lot of the friction for you, save you a lot of heartache, and I'm happy to do it. That in no way, if helping you do podcasting the way you want to do it is somehow going to threaten my business, I got other problems. There's something I'm not doing right. You know what I mean?
I do.
Yeah.
I do. But what I love, too, is that you're so open to being able to share. And you do genuinely want people to succeed. Walking down the street, I've always told you this, walking down the street with you in Woodstock is like walking with the mayor. Like, everyone knows you, and they all are just like so happy. Oh, Stone. And it's like you've only been here, 2 years? Goodness. Like, I've lived in this town quite a while now. So it's like, I got to take some notes from you, Stone. But it's because you do try to build relationships and help people, genuinely want to help people and see them succeed.
I'm just selfish. I just want to be loved. I'm just trying to get somebody to buy me a beer. If you're nice enough to people, they will buy you a beer, right?
They will. No, but like watching people succeed and that joy that you get in watching them succeed does come right back to you. So
every time, tenfold, and probably for most, at least that's in my case for me, not in a way you would think. Like, it's almost never like a straight line, it seems like, but somehow, some way, it circles back in the weirdest way. It's amazing.
Well, how could people get in touch with you? What is the best way?
So my direct line is 770-335-2050, and you can text there as well. I'm a lot better about reading the text and responding to that than I'm about picking up the phone. I'm often on another call. I don't often have my ringer up, but if I have my ringer up and I see it, I will grab it and say hello. But you can text that. My email is stone, STONE, at businessradiox.com. If you want to learn more about what we're up to network wide, go to businessradiox.com. We got a lot of cool stuff up there. If you're one of those aspiring podcasters, go check out BRX Pro Tips. There's a ton of stuff there that can help you. All right, so that's my phone, text, and email address. If you're interested at all in learning more about what we got cooking here with the Main Street Warriors program, go to mainstreetwarriors.org. And reaching out to me in any of those ways, I'm quite sincere when I say, yeah, I'm happy to set up a Zoom call. I'm happy to set, just a phone call, trade emails or whatever. But honestly, I just as soon head down and sit under the elm tree at Reformation and have a beer and talk it over. So
and just get to know people too.
Absolutely.
There's no obligation.
And if the weather's good, I'll show up in the golf cart. We'll take a ride.
And if anyone owns any twins out there.
Yes, seriously, I am in search of twins.
I really thank you so much for coming in here and chit-chatting today, because we haven't had a time to really focus on this since we started chit-chatting at all last year. So thank you for your time and for being so generous with your spirit and energy and really having a joy to watch other people succeed that I know I feel when I get to be with you. So thank you.
Absolutely my pleasure.
All right, everyone. Thanks for listening to Fearless Formula on Business Radio X. And again, this is Sharon Klein reminding you that with knowledge and understanding, we can all have our own fearless formula. Have a great day.